Alright, y'all's party people. Welcome back to the podcast, back to Tomboy Official. We are on here talking about the places I've lived, kind of the experiences of being an LGBTQ plus person and living with people. So the last one I recorded was about that housemate's mom, the apartment mate's mom who moved in, and it was a mess with her. And then I stayed in the hotel. That didn't work out. After like a month or so, I had to move because of my car transmission going out and the expenses being too high for me to like keep affording to live there. So I ended up having to find the spot to move to. So I moved to La Mesa, and I was living with this couple in La Mesa. So it was kind of a weird situation. Not too weird at first, but like, so this couple, they weren't married, but they had the master bedroom, and it had a bathroom in there. This was a house. It was a small house, but there were 4 of us living there, and eventually the couple got a dog. So I lived there, and there was another lady who, like, I rented a room. So my room was at the end of the hall. I shared a bathroom with this other lady whose room was one window she had a window facing the front side of the house. And so she she had a window facing the front side of the house, like the front of the street, but like it was fenced in, so technically it was part of like the side of the backyard, if that makes sense. But no, I'm wrong. It was the side of the house, so it was facing the neighbor's house. But we had a weird neighbor. Like, they had these weird their front room was like, you couldn't see any in any of the windows. They had like aluminum foil on the windows on the inside. I never knew if they had like a grow house or something. Like, I don't really know, because every now and then there was like some kind of glowing red light in there. And then I remember one of the housemates mentioning something about it, but it was like, there wasn't a lot of foot traffic. I don't remember seeing them or meeting them, but because I used to like talk on the phone in my car or like whatever, like I would see the house, and like there was a library near there, and I used to, or a school or something. I think it was a school, and it was a library. I don't know, it was either a library or a school, but I used to have one of those near there, and I would park like along, I would drive, because they had the corner house. So when I would drive around the corner, they had cars that were parked like maybe 1 or 2 cars, like old cars, like from the 90s or so, like 1 or 2 that I don't think they were in working condition. I don't really know. And so I never really knew what was going on. Like, I never really heard them, but I feel like they had dogs or something. I don't remember. Like, there was some kind of clue that like they lived there, but like I don't ever really remember like seeing them or anything. But I mean, I wasn't like talkative with the neighbors and stuff, and we lived on kind of a busy-ish main street, and so like there was a lot of foot traffic and stuff too, like people on bikes, people on foot, like people jogging. Like Southern California is like that. Like it's kind of a bit of a like an urban outdoorsy place. Like because the weather's usually decent, so people do get exercise outdoors. Like they do go outside a lot. Um, and so yeah, I kind of witnessed that. That was kind of a weird thing, and I remember when I first moved in, I came after work one day, I think, to see the place, and it was clean, it was neat. They asked me some questions. I think I had to give them a pay stub or something. I can't remember, honestly. Sign a contract, and they, explain the rules and stuff. And I think the rent was like $750 or something, or 700 or 725 or something like that. So I moved in from the hotel. I moved in there, and I didn't have a lot of stuff. I borrowed an air mattress from a friend because I didn't really have a bed, because the apartment I was in before had furniture, so I never like purchased a bed or a mattress. The other, the hotel was, I guess, I don't know. And I don't remember. I think I may have cleaned out my storage too. So I think I had like things in like boxes and bags pretty much. And a friend of mine helped. I think he had access to his parents' car, his parents' old kind of like SUV style car. I had my small Eclipse, which is too small to like really do too much. Like I could have done it myself, but I would have had to make multiple trips. So my friend really did me a solid, and the move was kind of easy. Wait, I can't remember. No, I think he helped me move out. I think I moved in by myself, I want to say. And I moved in, you know, I don't remember there being like issues early. I shared a bathroom with the housemate. Like both of us, we worked for the same company, and I guess the housemates knew that, and they kind of mentioned a little bit later on. They were like, "Yeah, we noticed your work badge," and they knew that I worked the same place that this other person worked. Not the same location, but for the same company. Like this company has like a bunch of branches all over San Diego, and so we had the same kind of badges and stuff like that, but different sites, and all that kind of stuff. So they kind of knew about her work. They knew she was quiet. She would just come home, go to her room, didn't really talk to anybody. I was the same. I would just come in, go home, go to my room, not really talk to anybody. But I would have friends over on occasion, so that's what I liked about it. Like, there was a beer fridge most of the time I lived there. There was like not a tall, like when you go to like 7-Eleven and stuff, there's like those fridges you can like see through. So we had something like that, but it wasn't as tall. It was probably like almost my height, like maybe like as tall as like up to my eyes or something. But you could put a bunch of cases of beer in there, so we would keep the beer in there, and they drank and I drank, and so we usually had that place stocked with plenty of alcohol. So yeah, we used to go and we would, I didn't really talk to them too much, but like, like they were a couple, and then like they were basically subleasing to me and the other person. So me and this other person from the same company, pretty much, like, we never really had to speak to each other. We never really had to talk to each other. We never really had to interact with one another. Too much. Like, not that we had to or didn't have to, but like, we were both really quiet. Neither one of us really cared to like be too like involved in anybody's lives. We just kind of worked, and then after work we would come home and live our own kind of private lives, and not really be too like, we're all it was draining work. So I don't think either one of us really cared to really you know have to deal with anybody, to be honest. Neither one of us wanted to do that, so we just didn't. And we stayed there for, I think she moved before I did. I think she was an intern and moved when she got licensed or something like that. So when she moved, I don't think I even said bye to her. But yeah, she moved, and we shared a bathroom. It was always clean. Probably always clean because she was the one cleaning it. And then I would just wipe out the tub. I would wipe all the surfaces whenever I was done using everything, but I really don't think I ever actually cleaned, to be honest. I don't remember cleaning. I mean, I must have, but I really don't remember if I ever actually cleaned. Same with the kitchen. Like, I would clean when people would go out of town. So, like, I don't know. So, I was kind of, I don't know, like, things at first, they're always good at first, right? And so, I think I stayed there maybe 3 years, and there weren't really any issues, at first. But then, there were little things that would come up, like, I remember, once, I think when I was going to go to this AFI concert, it was like in February one year, and it was going to be in LA, and the guy, he had a birthday, and he was saying like, hey, you should come over we're going to have a house party for his birthday or whatever. And I was like, I just happened to be out of town. And they're like, I guess they were sarcastic and maybe didn't believe me. And they're like, oh, you're going to be out of town. Like, but I would always go to LA. So it wasn't like, I just never told them what I was doing. Like, I would leave for the weekend quite regularly and just never tell them. Like, if I didn't have any plans, I would just go to LA. And so I just wouldn't tell them what I was doing there. And so, they were kind of like, oh, are you really leaving? Like, you're leaving because you just want to avoid us, kind of thing. And I probably would have anyways if they, I probably would have left anyways. But I literally had tickets to go to a concert. And so I was like, no, I'm going to this concert. So like, I'm not going to come back for your birthday. And I remember I had all these, like, beers that I had purchased, like, I think they were, like, Leinenkugel or whatever the name is. I don't know the name. Something like Leinenkugel or something like that. And that household kind of turned me on to them. Like, they had, like, these, like, summer shandies and, like, grapefruit shandies and stuff like that. And I was, like, really into those drinks because I like ciders, but those were the drinks I would drink. And so I would usually I would go to Bevmo, get those. And it had like a couple cases of those in there. And, I remember coming back after that weekend, all my alcohol was gone. Most of the house alcohol was gone. And the only thing left was like a bunch of other stuff. So I was like, well, at least there's other stuff, you know. And then they told me, they're like, well, you know, you can have your friends over, and because I know you have your friends over to drink, and so like you can have your friends over if you want, and you guys can drink the alcohol. So I drank it, and then not all of it, but like we drank a lot of it, and then because we started just pre gaming at my place, we'd probably been pre gaming at my place for a while before that, but we started pre gaming at my place. Like we would have vodka that we would just leave in my room, and like other drinks that like didn't really need refrigeration, we would keep them inside my bedroom, and then the other like, you know, beer bottles and stuff and cans and stuff we would get from the beer fridge. And so, you know, I had my friends over, and like within like a week or so, we drank quite a lot of the beer fridge alcohol from their party, and they were like, "Oh, like we said that you could drink it, but you have to replace it." And so I think that they, like, to me, I was like, either it was poor communication or they were just trying to get me to drink it so that I would feel obligated to replace it. So that was one of the first things I remember kind of rubbing me wrong, where I was just kind of like, first of all, they're sarcastic. Second of all, you know, I felt like they were a little nosy. And then that thing, you know, so I was like, that's not cool, you know. That's not cool how they are. How that situation went, I didn't really like it, and so I was kind of like, fine, I'll buy alcohol, you know, like, because I remember, I think they texted me that, and then I remember right when I had purchased the drinks, I think I got a bunch of uh, Bud Light Limes or something like that, because I had a friend that liked Bud Light Limes, and so I got introduced to them. I'm not really into Bud Light or like that kind of like Bud Light, Coors, all like, it's like, ew, it doesn't taste good. And so PBRs, like that kind of stuff, I'm not into it. But either like, yeah, anything but, like they texted me like after the fact, they're like, yeah, I get anything Bud but Bud Light, and I was like, well, I just bought a whole bunch of, you know, Bud Light Lime, you know, and like, sorry, it's like too late kind of thing. So I put it in the fridge to replace it. I can't remember if I got like 2, 3 cases, but you know, I just, because they weren't specific. Like these were like separate messages. So one message they had told me that, and then the next message they told me, you know, later on, like hours later, they're like, just don't get that one, you know, like, but I'd already purchased it, you know. And so I was like, well, you know, this is how it's going to be. And at a certain point, I started drinking Coronas, and they would kind of get on me about the Corona. Like, they'd be like, don't drink our Coronas. And I'm like, these are mine. And I remember there was something in the fridge once, like, you know those, when you get takeout, how there's those, like, black containers with the lid that you can kind of see through? It's like a black plastic container with a, like a transparent plastic lid. And so I used to basically have this stuff with the lid, and I would basically you know, I would have my, how do I say this? I would have my things like in the containers, because I would shop a lot at this grocery market called Zion. It was like Korean, but I would shop at the deli a lot, and they would have all the pre-made stuff in those containers. And I guess the roommate, the lady, who was part of the couple, she would run, like she was a runner, and at some point she started like meal prepping, and so she was like, well, don't like, you know, don't use my containers, these are mine. And I was just like, okay, but I was kind of like, well, I'm not using your containers, like it just so happens that the containers you bought to store your food are the same containers that I am given when I go get food from the deli. Like, it's they're the same containers. Like, but I wasn't using her containers. So I remember that. I don't remember what timeline any of this stuff happened, but I remember those kind of things happening where it wasn't like super tense stuff, but it was like a little bit of tension. Like enough tension that I was like annoyed, and then but I had never talked to them too much. At this point I had just stopped talking to like all my housemates. Like all like at this point I was like, anytime I have roommates, I'm just not going to try to connect to any of them. I'm not going to try to make friends or anything. I was just like, I've had so many bad experiences that like it makes it easy that I don't have any belongings. It makes it easy that I don't have a lot of solid furniture. And so I didn't really have to, interact too much either. So that helped. Like we had completely separate lives, so there was no reason for us to really have to talk. I remember, once they were kind of telling me like, okay, you can't, like I would leave the fan on all day, all night, pretty much. And then I remember them saying, don't, don't run the fan, because I guess I ran up a bill of like $500 or something, because I left my fan on, like according to them, like I left my ceiling fan on, because I just needed the air. And then there was another time when um, like I left, I don't remember what, but I remember they left a note on the, like a guy moved in. There was a guy who had moved in after that lady left, when I guess she got licensed and moved or whatever. I don't know I never talked to her, so I don't really know, but I'm assuming, because most of the people I knew who worked at those sites, that was kind of what they did. And then, I guess they said, oh, they were looking for someone to rent the place, so if I knew anybody, I could let them know. No, I remember I told them, like, at a certain point, I was gonna move, because I remember feeling like I was gonna want to move, so I was having trouble finding a place, and I wasn't looking that hard, but I remember being like, okay, I don't want to live with them, I think I was gonna get my own apartment, to myself, and then either I couldn't find a place, or like, I remember, because I worked so dang much, like, I just didn't have energy to be like actively looking for places and like competing and like sending all this paperwork and all this kind of, like, it wasn't, of course, like when you need a place, that's what you have to do, there's no real way around it, but like I really was just so bad at like energy management. I couldn't really manage my energy outside of work. It was like, if it wasn't a party, I didn't want to do it. Like, I had energy to party and socialize, eat, go out, that kind of thing. Maybe work out, go to the gym. I started going to the gym and hiking a lot back then, at that time too. So I could do that kind of stuff, but if it came to doing anything kind of like serious, it was really hard for me to like even break it up into small tasks over a long period of time. I still had trouble even doing that. And so, yeah, I was definitely, kind of struggling. Struggling to kind of make it work smoothly for myself. None of it was smooth. None of it was going very well. And so yeah, because it wasn't, like, I remember telling her I was gonna move, and then I guess she told me like don't tell me, that you're gonna move, if because she has to keep posting and not posting, taking the thing down or whatever, and keep showing the room and stuff, because I hadn't had a place I was gonna move to, so I just stopped communicating with them pretty much. Like, I never really interacted with the guy too much. Like, he was cool, but like, we didn't really talk, and that was fine. And I remember once, they mentioned something, uh, like, I guess this was around my birthday, because I remember going out for my birthday, um, and on the day of my birthday, I guess I'd been out all day, I guess, and they showed my room, I guess. I don't know if they showed my room or what, but, um, I guess that person got, like, mad at me or something, and she was like, you should have cleaned the bathroom and all that. But I was kind of like, well, I didn't know somebody was coming, and, like, we weren't communicating about it, and, like, I was kind of just doing my own thing. Like, it wasn't, like, filthy, but it wasn't clean, if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't, like, super clean. But it wasn't, like, that bad, I don't think. I really just don't remember. And so I remember coming back from my birthday early, to try to clean it before midnight, because I was like, I'll clean it before tomorrow, but I was like, shoot, tomorrow's midnight. So I came back with some friends of mine. Um, I got them a hotel, because my friend was visiting town or something. I think maybe he was gonna stay with me, but he was in town for like 2 days or something, and I think he was in the desert at that time, and he stayed with me for like a day or so, and then the next day, I think the next day I had a visitor friend coming from another city, um, I think, and then, I think that's what was happening, and then, um, but yeah, the night before, I came home early for my birthday, um, and, um, man, this is such a foggy story. Like, yeah, I came home early for my birthday, and that housemate was like, I guess a day or two, I guess the next day, she was like, because of social media, she was like, oh shoot, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to, like, have you come back on your birthday or like whatever, and like I was just kind of like over it. And like I don't remember the timeline of any of this. I just remember because my birthday's in August, so I remember that. And then I remember, I remember, um, um, yeah, my birthday's in August, and I don't remember when I moved, but I did eventually move. I want to say maybe I moved the following June. I can't really remember for sure. But I do remember being a little upset about the birthday thing. Um, and just kind of how, she would start texting me. Like, whenever I would hear from them, it was because there was some kind of issue. So I remember her once, like, once this new guy moved in, she started kind of like getting a little irritable because, there was a lot going on. I was not, involved in it. I think I think she asked me once, keep an eye out in case he has his girlfriend over because, it's okay if you guys have guests, but we just want to know if somebody's staying. And she stays over more than half the week, and they were kind of like, you can't have somebody staying over here more than half the week because then it's like, if it's every week more than half the week, then technically they should be paying rent. And so they kind of just wanted to keep track who was staying there and all that. And um which is fair. You know, I think when you share a place with people, you want to know who's there. And the whole time I lived there, I think the whole time lived there, I remember there being a camera out front, and it would say like "Smile, you're on camera" or something like that. And there was a camera um, out front of the house, and you know, in the garage. Like the garage was facing the street, and then there was a camera facing the front door. And so I didn't think much of it because I was like, this guy works on cars, he works on bikes, he has cars and bikes, like street bikes, you know, motorcycles, and he, you know, basically has his own business and has his own shop and everything, um, and all that, and so, um, and the his girlfriend, uh, maybe fiance, I don't know if she was a fiance or girlfriend at the time, but they did eventually get married, but I want to say girlfriend or fiance, like she, she worked with him, but I think overall, like, yeah, she didn't really have like a job other than working with him, but it was like his business, like he took care of everything, so I don't really know her role. I only saw the place once, and I think it was when they opened like a new, either they remodeled or opened a new shop, and the new shop was the one that I went to, and got like free lunch or whatever, and then I just kind of bounced. But yeah, I said hi to one of them. I can't remember which one, but yeah, basically, um, I remember her just kind of like, she wasn't like blowing up my phone, but it was like anytime she had a complaint about something, I feel like she got a little worse with it once that other guy moved in, because then she just started complaining about everything. Like she left a note on our mirror saying, you know, clean the bathroom, clean the hallway, clean your bedrooms. And I was kind of just like, what the hell, you know? And I kind of had a feeling they went in my room when I was gone, because I just had a feeling they went in my room when I was gone. Because I know they mentioned that thing about the fan being on, and then something else that they mentioned, you know, um, you know, I don't know. It was something about the fan being on, and there was some other reason. Like, yeah, saying like clean your room. It's like I don't know when they would have seen my room if they weren't going in it. I didn't really like leave the windows open. I don't think. Like I had blinds. I think I would keep the blinds shut to my memory. I don't remember opening the blinds. Like there really was a lot that I just don't remember, but yeah, overall I was annoyed. Um just cuz like it was stuff that's like, you know, I'm relatively clean. Of course there's going to be times when, you know, I'll leave things kind of messy. Like but usually if it's my own space and I'm not sharing it, then I'm like, okay, like I can be messy in these spaces and maybe not clean it for like a couple weeks, a few weeks, 2, 3 weeks, you know, and then eventually I'll get sick of it and clean. Like I'm not usually keeping stuff a mess that long, but you know, I'll eventually clean, you know. So I was a little, you know, upset that, you know, like we hadn't had like rules about when to clean and all this kind of stuff, but it did start to become an issue because I was like, well, I don't know how often you want this happening. And like, because it was me and this other guy, and I was like, she had only asked me really to clean that one time uh, when it was my birthday. And so it wasn't like she was always messaging me about it, but just to have that note in the bathroom about like cleaning, because I feel like the bathroom wasn't messy, the hallway wasn't messy, um, but she was telling us to vacuum and clean our bedrooms and the hallway. And so I started vacuuming like once a week. Once a week, right when I came home from work, I would vacuum um, my room and the hallway, um, and it was little stuff like that where I was just kind of like, of course, nothing's gonna be perfect, and like those weren't really things that were too big of issues. There was something that they mentioned once where they said something along the lines of, the way that they retaliate and get back at people who are doing things like being loud or doing things they don't want is like they would have like loud sex or something. I do remember her mentioning that. And I do remember once they did do that. They were having like really loud sex and I was just like, what the hell is going on? You know, I was like, maybe they don't know I'm home, or, you know, maybe they're doing it because I annoyed them. Like, I didn't really know. I don't remember if she said that before or after the fact. After that day that they were doing it. But I was kind of like, isn't that a little like harassing? Like really? Like, like it's almost like flashing people. In my opinion, it's kind of like it's one thing if you just have loud sex, or if you just are having sex and it just happens to be loud, or you didn't know somebody was home. But I'm kind of like, you can't just do that to like annoy people, to make them uncomfortable. Like, that is creepy and strange. To me that was like weird. It's like, to me that's kind of like gross. I was like, that kind of grossed me out. Like, it's not like, I don't know, I've lived with people, so I've heard all kinds of people doing all kinds of things, and that, it doesn't bother me. I'm not saying that I'm like into it. Like, I would rather not be involved in anybody's life that way if I don't want to be, but it's just naturally something that you overhear when you live with people or when you share walls. Sometimes that just happens. Like, that's just a part of, human nature. Is just going to happen. But, to do it purposely to annoy somebody, that is a whole other level of strange. And so I kind of started getting like, not like too weird of a vibe. Honestly, it wasn't too weird even at that point. And again, I don't remember like linearly how any of this stuff happened. Like, it's a blur for sure. But I do just remember her saying that. And I remember her commenting that I had a lot of Asian friends. I remember that. I remember when she had a bunch of friends over who were Asian. They were having soju, and they were like, "Oh, we know you're not gonna come and like talk to us," or kind of like the way they would say it was always so like sarcastic and off-putting, to a point that I didn't even want to like interact, because they were like, "Oh, we know you don't want to talk to us," but like, I didn't want to talk to them, and I feel like, if you're just paying rent somewhere, you have every right to not want to be like besties with your housemates. I had my own life, my own friends. We would hang out in my room. Like, I don't see why I needed to really interact with them so much, or where they wanted that from me so much. I didn't care to get to know them. I was just there because it was is a better financial situation than staying in the hotel, and it wasn't the previous roommate with the mother, so I was there because it was a better fit for somewhere to stay, and the rent was still cheap. Like, I was always looking for cheap rent, like in the 600, 700 range. And so, yeah. So it was a little, be like partly um yeah, I remember there being just little challenges like that where it was like, I wasn't like losing sleep over it or anything, but it was like I was annoyed, and it wasn't like any major thing. Like I remember saying I was going to move, but I think the reason why I wanted to move was just cuz I wanted my own place. I don't remember specifically at first something actually happening. I just remember I couldn't find a place, and because I couldn't find the place fast enough, and because I didn't have the energy to really look, she kind of was getting annoyed that I wasn't finding a place. And so she was kind of like, okay, like, just tell me when you actually find a place, because she was getting kind of annoyed with me on that. And so I was like, whatever, fine. And then there was a certain point where I noticed. So I remember one day, like, kind of what led me to move was this. One day, me and my friends, we went out drinking. We had like an epic day drinking day. Went over to Baja Betty's, and we were like, man, we drank so much. But yeah, we had gone over to Baja Betty's, got a whole bunch of alcohol. Um, it was like bottomless mimosas, bottomless sangria, and bottomless. What else was it? There was something else you could get bottomless. Maybe it was just like plain champagne or something. I don't remember, but it was bottomless. You could pay like, I think it was like $25 or $25.99 or $24.99 for all you can drink, and $24 or $25.99 for all you can eat. But if you combine them, I think it was like $35 or something like that. I don't remember the prices exactly, but they used to have like, so they used to do this from 10 to 2 every Saturday and every Sunday for brunch before the pandemic, of course. And then, so we used to go like a lot on weekends, and we'd always invite people. Sometimes we would, sometimes we wouldn't. Me and my main friend groups. Um, uh, so yeah, and we went once. I remember my housemates. They would go out of town sometimes. Like the lady would have races, and out of town sometimes, and they would just take trips together and stuff. And so they'd be out of the house, and they'd tell me, I would feed their cat, and maybe poop scoop the cat, if it was like a week or so, and they were fine with it. And after that, I'd play with the cat for like a little bit. And sometimes I would let it go like in my room, because otherwise it would just be meowing at my door all day long, because I was like the only person home. I think they had like a doggy door in their bedroom that the cat could go in and out, as far as I remember. And then eventually they got a dog. They got a husky. It was quiet though. I don't think I ever heard that dog bark. And so it wasn't really like an issue. You just had to make sure it didn't like get out of the house or like get into anything. But usually the dog went with them to work, and so like I was never really like in charge of the dog. It was just the cat. And the cat was really low maintenance, and so I didn't mind playing with it, hanging out with him, especially because nobody else was home. So I was like, I don't really care. But it was one of those times they had gone out of town when we were at Betty's one weekend, and we'd been partying, I guess, the night before. But because I had a bunch of people over because they were out of town, so we just had pizza and just kind of sat around the house, and we just had pizza. And yeah, that's all. We just had pizza, sat around the house, and then had drinks. And other than that, we didn't really. I don't know. Maybe we played Cards Against Humanity or something. I don't remember. We might have played a game or something, but yeah, I really liked having friends over, and I used to have my main crew of friends over all the time, and we would just hang out in my bedroom and pregame. Then we'd Uber out to like wherever we were going, then Uber back to my place, and everyone would kind of go their separate ways from my spot. Um, so I remember that, and then um, so I remember, we would do that all the time. That was kind of like our go-to. And then that one time when we were at Baja Betty's, when it was like, I guess the next day, I think, or within that same weekend that my friends, that the housemates had gone out of town, because I remember having my friends over the night before. I think even before that, I had a friend over. We kind of played a little bit of guitar, like a little bit, and then, we went. We got so drunk at Betty's, and we were like, we're gonna go to the beach or whatever. And I was, so we were gonna. The plan was go back to my place, change, and then go over to the beach. And one of my friends was with us, and she was so sick. She drank a lot and then just started vomiting a lot. So we're still like roaming around town trying to get drinks, trying to go to the beach, like trying to do more stuff. And it just wasn't gonna work out because she was too sick, and it was like, but we were like troopers. Like she was gonna actually come with us to the beach and stuff, and then the other, we ended up not doing that. But they came over. I had some friends changing in other parts of the house, and I was changing in my room, and she was vomiting in the kitchen, in the sink or trash can, and was vomiting in the she was just vomiting, and I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. uh you know it was just confusing. And so we were all just kind of hanging out at my place a little bit, and then I guess we decided to all go eat pho. I think this was the same day. We all decided to go eat pho, but we were still really drunk, and went to Chula Vista, and we're kind of like belligerent and just like at this pho restaurant, and just like not sober, and some people were still drinking by this point. This is like dinner time at this point. Um, and then I think we ended up at my friend's place, and we're singing karaoke at our friend's Chula Vista apartment. And so we both went, and um yeah, we both kind of went to where did we go? Yeah, we went to their apartment in Chula Vista, and we're just lounging around, singing, drinking, eating. We had eaten and everything, so it was kind of a chill, like, after situation. And then maybe it was the next day that my friend came over to play guitar, or maybe it was that day, but I don't know. I remember, like, one of my friends pointing out to me, he's like, is that, I don't know, I think one day we had gone, and it was just me and him, though. I don't remember what was going on, but it was like me and him. We went to my room or something to maybe like pick something up. Like, we weren't there long. Like, I guess we had dropped by my place to like use the bathroom or something. This might not have even been the same day, but I remember it might have been like within that time frame. We dropped by my room to like get some stuff or whatever we were doing there, and the you know, I think when I came in, turned on the lights, like the front house lights, and then some other lights or whatever, and then um, I guess maybe my friend was hanging out in the living room or something. I don't remember. Um, and when I turned out the lights, like he pointed out to me, he was like, "Isn't that like an infrared light? You know, like in the it was like there was a bar in the corner of the um, living room, like kind of opposite the door and like diagonal from the door, and but the camera was facing like the door, kind of like the facing like the living room, and he was like, "Isn't that a camera?" And I was like, "Oh shoot." And I was like, I'd never seen that before, but also I never really hung out in the living room, but I didn't remember seeing it the night before, because I remember we had been hanging out or whatever, and like I think he was like, yeah, they probably heard everything you said about them or whatever. I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, like I don't give like I was talking shit about them for sure. I don't remember what I said, but I remember talking shit about them. Um, but that rubbed me the wrong way. I was just like, dude, you can't be having cameras inside the house where nobody knows that it's there. Like I mentioned before, like I already knew there were cameras outside. But they never told me that there were cameras like in the house. And I never really used the living room much, but I was like, well, maybe somebody just plugged it in and like didn't really remember to unplug it or whatever. So I unplugged it, before we left the house, and I was like expecting nothing, because I was like, okay, this is like they're not even going to be home for probably like 3-4 days or whatever, and you know, um, you know, they're not home, and so I basically uh, figured, okay, if they're not home, I'm just gonna, I would tell them when I had friends over and stuff. I think every time. I don't remember ever not telling them that I had friends over, but yeah, I was upset about the camera, and so I unplugged it, and then we left, and I expected nothing about it. Like, I was just like, whatever, they're out of town, so like, what difference does it make? They text me not that long after saying, hey, like it was within 30 minutes, because I think by the time we had arrived wherever the heck we were going, they had already messaged me. So I'm like, well, they knew then that, they had a camera up, and, they're like, I think, they're like, oh, can you please, check, you might have accidentally unplugged the camera, we leave it there for the cat or whatever. And I'm just thinking, like, really? Like, you leave a camera for the cat? And I was like, okay, they're like, we want to make sure he's eating or like whatever. And I'm just kind of like, okay, that's BS. Like, in my head, I'm like, there's no way they're leaving this camera here for their stupid cat. Like, first of all, that cat would be all over the house. Like, it loved to hang out, on the back of the couch, because the couch was like, touching the wall. So I remember that their cat used to kind of hang out at the like touching the wall, pretty much. Like, it used to hang out at the, like, on the back of the couch. And so I was thinking, like, this camera isn't even facing where the cat usually is, in the living room, and it doesn't capture the whole living room, and it doesn't capture the whole rest of the house. So why would there be and they don't feed the cat in the living room. So I was kind of like, why on earth would they have a camera in the living room? And I was like, well, they just have it there so they can like spy on us. But it also wasn't like hidden. It was literally, it was a tall camera. It was like probably about the size of a water bottle, like one of those, 16.9 and a 16.9 full ounce type of, those personal water, disposable water bottles that you get, just classic size. It was about that tall, in plain sight on the bar. Like it wasn't hidden behind anything or under like a teddy bear, nothing like that. So, and I only noticed it because my friend noticed the light, and I unplugged it, and they were very forthcoming about it after the fact. They were like, so I was kind of like, okay, like that kind of makes sense. But I did get a little weirded out because I was like, I didn't know there were cameras in the house. And because I'd been, expecting that, we had, at least some amount of privacy when I had my friends over when they were out of town, and we were just kind of like chilling in the house, in the living room and stuff. So I was a little upset about that because I was like, how intrusive, but I kind of, it got to me enough that I was like, I think I did plug it back in, but I was like mad. And I think I put it facing like some other direction or something. So I was like, they can deal with this when they get back home. Like, I'm not going to have any cameras capturing me while I'm in the house or whatever, And so that weirded me out because they never mentioned that they had a camera. So that I did not like at all. And then another thing I remember kind of like almost joking with them because they brought it up again when they left. But I was kind of like, let me just see how they feel. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to get a camera. I'm going to get a camera that connects to my phone so I can, keep an eye on the cat. Like, it's not my cat or anything, but I just threw something out of left field and said some dumbass thing like that. And they were getting mad. They were like, well, why? Like, you can't put up a camera. Like, why, why do you need to put up a camera? Like, you don't need to put up a camera. Like, and that to me was kind of like, okay, well, why don't you want me to have a camera if you're allowed to have a camera? Like, why can't I have a camera? You know what I mean? And so I was like, okay, that to me kind of like, because I was like, I want to see what they're going to say. Because it is kind of like a weird thing to say, but it's like, also like, nobody's really going to fight you on it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a weird freaking thing to say if you don't have a cat and be like, yeah, I'm going to get a camera to watch your cat. But, I was kind of trying to get under their skin, but at the same time, I was like, yeah, like, that's what it feels like. You can't just have other people with their cameras like in the house and you don't have any control over it. Like that's not okay, kind of thing. And we couldn't really agree on anything with that, and so I let it go. But every day I came home, because I'm a bit of a paranoid person, I would look at the camera, and I think I used to flip off the camera too. I can't remember, but every day when I would come home, I would just walk in, see the camera, go to my own room. Like I never really hung out in the living room that much, in all honesty. And that's where the camera was. And one day I noticed the camera was missing from that spot, and I think it was another time when they were out of town, but the camera was missing and it was up on top of the fridge instead. I located it because I couldn't find it. I was like, where did they put it? Because once I knew the camera was there, I looked at it every time I came into the house, and it was always there. It was always in the same spot. It never really was moved. And then that one day I noticed it wasn't there, and I found it up on top of the fridge facing toward where the cat litter box was, but also toward the garage door. And I remember that garage door being locked, and which is fine because the guy had his like stuff in there. Alright guys, so an update about May 2023. So I basically had a microdose of blue meanie mushroom chocolate, and I basically was I don't know, like, how would I describe, I guess, overall, it's been it was a pretty good experience. I mean, the only thing I've ever experienced negative with psilocybin is the intestinal discomfort. I mean, I'm not talking about, like, you know, if a person takes like a whole lot and then, you know, they're kind of having like some kind of psychedelic reaction, but, or experience, but even those, I mean, I find them valuable. Like, I definitely get to gather and challenge a lot of unhelpful lifestyle choices and things like that. But mostly what I experienced was increased motivation, increased energy. I would say I wasn't like as sharp. Like, I'm not saying I wasn't sharp, but I wasn't super sharp. Like, when I was podcasting yesterday and some other stuff, you know, I wasn't like super sharp. Even same today, I'm not like super sharp. I'm like slight foggy, but not quite foggy enough to be like ultra concerned. So I guess that's one of the best ways I can explain the experience, is that overall, you know, I didn't really notice like how poorly I had been feeling and how poorly I had been really functioning on some levels, as far as like restfulness, those types of things. Being able to just relax when I want to, like, you know, it didn't take much, you know, when I needed to relax, just to, you know, do slight, like very slight amount of like breathing techniques, and then I just felt better, versus usually it takes a lot more than that, you know, for me to actually feel like, okay, like I can kind of continue on with the next step for today. So that was probably one of the bigger things that happened yesterday. Otherwise, I just studied, went to the beach. The coffee shop I study at is near the beach. Did some podcasting from the beach. Went and took my afternoon kind of restfulness at the house, but because, like, I guess I got back just maybe around 3-ish, 3 something, and stayed till not even 4 o'clock, because we're getting some construction done on our roof, and so even right now, as I was just leaving, I saw the guy coming in who usually does the construction, and we were kind of like, I don't know, we don't talk or anything necessarily. He's like family friend. I've got nothing against him. We just don't talk. Like, we just don't talk like that. Because he's like more of a friend of my parents. He's got daughters that are like a few years older than I am. But yeah, other than that, he's a family friend. I've known him since I was like 5. So yeah, he's doing work on our house. There's a storm coming Thursday, so I'm guessing that's why my folks are wanting the roof repaired finally. Because otherwise, it's been kind of falling apart a little bit. But, yeah, I'm headed now to the coffee shop, a different coffee shop by the mall, to get some studying done. Then I'll head over to the beach. Dude, this car does not like idle lately. It is not doing too good in idle. But yeah, that's all. Just getting to the daily grind.